Well, hello and welcome back to Read Becca. It's time once again for my weekly chatty catch up on everything I've read, everything I'm currently reading, and everything I'm looking forward to reading, as well as some general lifey chit chat. And I was not sure I was going to be able to actually film this catch up because it just, like 15 minutes ago, it was storming up a storm, and now it's beautiful and sunny. So out of nowhere. So it's been very chaotic weather and not great lighting. So we're going to catch it in the moment. As well, one thing to catch up with you on. I keep failing to update on my Read What You Own challenge. I'm terrible at remembering to do it, so we're going to do it right up front. I am nearly finished with my 25 books for my Read What You Own challenge. As of right this moment when I'm filming, I have 23 of 25 read. So I almost certainly will be finishing this week based on where I'm at and projections of what I'm going to do. So hopefully we will be done with Read What You Own in the next week, and then I can dive into library books again. So exciting. So anyway, that's going well. Onward to the books I read this week. So I read two things this week. The first of them, I'm not really going to talk about significantly because I will have a standalone video, and that is my library treasure hunt book for the month of March, which was The Great Phoenix of London by Lindsay Galvin. I picked this because it is a middle grade for middle grade March, and it was available on Hoopla. So it should be fairly widely available, and it's very, very underrated, and I enjoyed it so much. Great middle grade historical fantasy, and it looks like the author has a number of books that have kind of a similar framework, and I could totally see reading more from the author. It was a really good time. So I will have a standalone video about that book coming up. The next one that I finished was Butter Sugar Magic by Jessica Rosenberg. And this is from the Baking Up a Magical Midlife series. So there is kind of a niche of very cozy, like mundane kind of midlife, older woman protagonist books with a sort of witchy vibe out there that all have similar keywords and covers. And I bought a couple of those a few years ago and just never got around to them. And so I'm finally getting around to this one. It was a great time. It perfectly delivered on that cozy vibe. So everything about this, I think, fit the cozy mystery structure, but it's really gentle, witchy fiction as well. And there was no murder. So I really liked that aspect. So we're following a woman who is in her early 40s, is going through massive change. She's getting a divorce, or is newly divorced, in fact, and really has no path forward. She's got a daughter who she's sharing custody with her ex on, and all of a sudden, as she's facing this big upheaval, she finds out she has this long-lost aunt who passed away and left her an inheritance. She doesn't really expect it to be anything significant, but she just needs to get away and have some time on her own to do this, away from the situation with her ex. And so she and her daughter take off from, I think it was Georgia, all the way to New England to see what this inheritance is. And on arrival, she finds out it's much bigger inheritance than she expected. In fact, she has inherited a bakery and the apartment above it. And this is after a lifetime of never having a job or had run a business, but she does have a degree in food history, which will of course come in handy here somehow. But once she gets into this place and it's kind of blown away, it seems perfect. It seems like the place of her dreams. In many ways, it is spot on to things she has dreamed about, and it's also a little bigger on the inside than from the outside. It doesn't seem quite right. And so her hackles are up that it's too good to be true right off the bat, right? And her daughter is having some conflict with her about not being sure about wanting to stay. It's far away from her school and her friends. All of that is working into her then figuring out, of course. Naturally, you can tell from the beginning of this that not only does she have a witchy ancestry that she never knew about, but the entire community in this small town is very witchy. So her neighboring shops are these lovely witchy people. So like there's a pet shop next to her, but it's a pet shop for familiars, not just your standard pets. And so uncovering that is yet another big bombshell in her life that completely changes her perception of herself. So I love that delivery. I love the community building and building connection with all of the people around her now as she's needing a support system that she has never had. So I would say it is super duper cozy. But on the flip side, I think this is also doing some really interesting things that might go very heavy for some people based on their personal experiences. So as a result of the situation she's in with her ex, I would say he was not overtly abusive in terms of physical abuse, but certainly there's an element of coercive control there. Like, she never worked because he did not want her to work, things like that. And so that, I think it rings very true and will be very hard for some readers to read. Especially, what is really hard reading this in that aspect is that throughout, you're seeing her think through or have his voice in her head for a very long time before she finally begins to really trust her intuition. And so as she's going along, like, we're seeing him continue sniping at her through his voice in her head, because that's her expectation of him. That's the dynamic they always had. And it's great to watch her slowly working through that and learning to stand up for herself and really coming into her own. But it is pretty realistic what's going on, and that was kind of hard to read at times. But it was super duper cozy, very sweet in terms of the relationship. I love that though her daughter is young, she really included her daughter and treated her with respect in terms of being part of their family unit and having a voice in making major decisions about what their family do. And so I really, really appreciated that. Loved the magic, loved the familiars, like the animals around were great. There is a mystery to it, but as I said, not a murder, and I really appreciated that. So this was just cozy, baked good, warm vibes, like 100%. Really, really enjoyed it. Oh, and it is contemporary set, so it's in modern day with, cell phones and stuff. There's some text conversations and stuff in it as well. So I think that is it for my reading week so far. But I've been reading along on my TBR books for this month that are all big chunkers. So I've read 3 stories in the Irish RM. I am liking a little bit more than I was with the first story. I am reading Middlemarch. I am actually making progress on this. Thank goodness I finally started and gotten going. It is so good. It is really, really good. And then Glasstown Game for also middle grade March and March on the Moors. And I am about halfway. I've made some great headway on this one this week. And I'm also enjoying this one very much. So good times in reading. So I need to finish one more and then I will be done with my Read What You Own. So maybe one of those and maybe something else short that I pick up. I don't know. So onward, that's everything to do with books. I'm very excited to be wrapping up my Read What You Own and being able to next month really dive into library stuff. I have so much exciting library stuff to get to. So for stuff I watched this week, things I don't think I have a ton to say about in terms of watching. So I've finished season 2 of The Tourist, and appropriately for the Irish readathon reading month for St. Patrick's Day, season 2 of The Tourist takes place pretty much entirely in Ireland. And I really like that. It was great. So the whole premise of this series is that this man, Jamie Dornan, he shows up in Australia after an accident and has amnesia and doesn't remember anything about his life. And so a small town cop who is, Miss Danielle McDonald, I think is her name, the woman from Dumplin'. She's a small town cop who kind of is helping him out, but really bad dudes are all after him, and obviously he has amnesia, so he doesn't know why. So it's them piecing together all of the why. So obviously they have now followed the trail somewhat from Australia to Ireland. Most of the first season took place in the outback, and now we were totally in Ireland. And I really enjoyed it. I think it leaned more on mystery than on thriller, though there were a couple episodes that were very thriller. But like the setting and history, I guess, that we saw from Ireland was really, really great. The other 2 things that I finished up this week were more kind of true crimey stuff. I continued down that rabbit hole for sure. So I watched 2 limited series. One was Scamanda, and that's a 4-episode docu-series. I watched it on Hulu, and it is about a woman who faked having cancer and defrauded a bunch of people, including her mega church that she was very involved with and influential at. She had all kinds of events put on for her, just wild, wild stuff. So that one is an actual docuseries. The other one that I watched was Apple Cider Vinegar, which is a new pretty popular one on Netflix. And that one is a fictionalized or a dramatized version of a true story about also a woman who was very, very involved in wellness culture and, again, faked cancer and just defrauded a bunch of people. It really, what comes across in both of these series is just how powerful a tool the internet, and specifically social media, is for predatory people. And I guess it is somewhat affirming to witness that the ratio is so disparate of the predator to the people who are victims, that there are so many people that are on the opposite side of that dynamic that are going with good faith and trust into this dynamic. And maybe that's more affirming, but it's also very sad. Makes you want to turn off the internet for sure. So that is what I watched for this week. And then one recommendation for the week, and we'll wrap up. I saw Sonia from Sonia with an I did a great little vlog where she put herself in the shoes and mind of Anne of Green Gables, who I love, and went and spent a day celebrating spring in honor of the first day of spring last week. And so I just really enjoyed the vlog. It was very like calming and gentle and quiet and just delighting in a day in the way that Anne would. So I very much think it was true to Anne's spirit. So with that, I will leave you and say I hope you have a wonderful week in reading and in life, and thank you so very much for watching.